You are now tuned into another Santana exclusive. Let's watch. Okay. Well, thank you, Bones. Hey, so what I will do is, so DJ Easy is supposed to be here soon, but we'll go ahead and get started just because I want to respect the time that you guys have given me, and I know we're already a little bit behind, and the people are here, and the conversation is ready. So I want to go ahead and get into it, and so I'll say mods. If you guys see DJ Easy pop in, please let him up. He is the fourth member to the panel. He did message me, said that he would be here in a moment, but we will go ahead and get started. So, first and foremost, I want to say thank you to the men that are on the panel with me right now. These brothers are special. You guys know them, you love them, you listen to them every single day. They bring so much insightfulness to our lives in a lot of different ways, right? Whether it's appreciating what they do in the political realm, whether it's appreciating the work that they do when it comes to any type of advocacy, or whether it's appreciating what they do when it comes to sharing their stories as an author. We listen to them every day, and they actually drive a lot of the way that we are able to interact with different people in our lives. So first and foremost, I'm going to go from what I see from left to right. On the box, we have Navi the Arthur Robinson, we have Mr. Jones X, and we have Polypolitics. Three, soon to be four, three brothers that really inspired me to, step up what I was doing and start to share my voice even more. And I promise you I enjoy all of their content. Now, with that being said, I want to kind of point out what we're doing today. There he is. Oh, and last but not least, spinning in, the good brother DJ Easy. Listen, I came across DJ Easy. I was doing a live. He came up and he had the smoothest radio voice aside from Bones, right? Besides Bones, the smoothest radio voice I ever heard, and he brought so much insight and intellect to the conversation. I said, I got to give this man a follow. So, DJ Easy, how are you?
I'm very well, brother. Thanks so much for asking. How about yourself?
Good. Thank you for being here. So we're gonna get started. So guys, what this is today is a conversation. Thank you all for being here with us with the panel. The reason behind this conversation is addressing something that I've noticed, whether it's in the lives that I've hosted or whether I've been interacting or listening to some of the other lives of the men here on the panel. And it's been a constant thing where it seems that more black men today are willing to accept Donald Trump and what the Republican Party stands for versus getting behind Kamala Harris, and being so close to the election, being in a situation where this will be a tight election. The race is really close. There's multiple polls out saying that, things are going to be interesting. I thought that we needed to have this conversation because there's an opportunity for us to educate some people that may be listening. There's an opportunity to dispel some of the misconceptions, and there's also an opportunity to really dig into the why behind behind why black men specifically are being targeted by the Republican Party, by the Trump campaign. And how do we make sure that we're talking to these black men that might have these different ideas, and it's not something that they should go along with. So first and foremost, I want to share a little bit about myself, and the reason for me why I'm here is because of these pictures that you see alongside of me, right? Up in this corner here, this is a picture of my father. Right below that, this is a picture of his three brothers. This picture right here is a picture of my grandfather, and this picture right here is my two sons. These are the black men in my life that push me to want to be better. These are the black men in my life that motivate me to be who I am, and this is the reason, the legacy that's behind me, and the legacy that's ahead of me that makes me want to leave the world in a better place. And for me, that's voting for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump. But with that being said, I kind of want to go through the panel real quick. If you guys don't mind giving like a 1 or 2 minute kind of spiel about what pushes you to be in the political realm and what's important to you when it comes to this election. So I'll start left with Nabby.
Thank you for having me, brother. What was the question again?
Yeah, just a quick recap about I got an echo. Can everybody hear that? Or is it just me? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I can hear too.
Okay. Nabby, we'll come back. Mr. Jones X, what has pushed you to be so involved in this political cycle? I know you have a history, but why is it important for you to be involved, with this actual cycle?
I think it's important, to recognize all of the people that came before us that literally put their lives and bodies and families and all of these things on the line so that we would have the opportunity to have our voices heard, in the political arena. My grandfather marched with Dr. King, tagging along, my dad and my uncle. My dad took me to the very first Million Man March. So like this was something that was instilled in me at a very young age. Like my dad said, if you're not going to vote, then you can't complain with the outcomes. If you're not going to participate in your community and your community is shit, well, then you're part of the shit. Like, you're part of the reason that your community is shit because you're not doing anything either. You're just sitting around waiting for somebody else to, pick up the ball. And so, my whole life I've been about building community, being in the community, helping where I can. Muhammad Ali said it best, service to others is the rent we pay for our space here on earth. And, I kind of live by those principles. As far as what I do, in social media and in the world, it's simply because I want my children, to be able to grow up in a country where these issues that I faced and, my parents face and their parents face are no longer issues, but more importantly, they can look back and say, well, this is who my dad was.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, again, it feels like similar to what I said, the great people behind you set the tempo for you to set the stage for the people ahead of you, your kids. So thank you for that. Polly, how did you end up in this political space, this cycle?
About the opposite of Mr. Jones, we'll put it that way. No, so I did not grow up. My parents did not. We did not talk about politics in my house. We did not, talk about civil. We didn't talk about any of that stuff growing up. It was actually me stumbling in to my graduate program that actually got me into really looking at politics and society. I started studying, and when I really started studying from an objective standpoint, I started realizing that a lot of things that we're told is fear mongering, right? It's a rhetoric. It's a story that they're trying to get across to you. I like to give this example because I just, and for any of you guys who watch my live and know how very anti-Trump my live is, and my page in general, I was actually studying the foreign policy in graduate school between the first about year and a half of Trump against the Obama administration, right? And I looked at it and I said, as I was studying, I realized that I was getting actually really angry because on the foreign policy standpoint, now while Obama's domestic policy was insanely good, a lot of his foreign policy was stuff that actually was considered pretty weak within the arena, right? And the first year and a half of Donald Trump's under General Mattis, especially when it came to defense stuff, was actually pretty strong. Now that faded off, Mattis left, and Donald Trump went off on his old thing. So the next 2.5, 3 years were just absolute trash. But it really made me start to look at things objectively, right? And really start to take a step back and go, okay, what is actually provable? What can we use as evidence? And we need to start with that evidence. We need to start with not how we feel. Start with the evidence and then move forward from there, right? And so that's why I think that my personal involvement in this election season is so important, because this has been the largest spread of misinformation, right? Of of trying to tell stories to people who are they're either not willing to find out the correct information, they don't have the time to find out the correct information, or they simply just don't care, right? And really, I see those as the three options. So I think it is just very, very important for us to start from the place of, of evidence, of facts, and then to be able to tell our story from there. And so when you have a presidential candidate like Donald Trump, right, who goes on stage in a debate and says that they're eating dogs and cats, or that they're having, after birth abortions, right? That stuff is not only like bad for us as an electorate, but it's bad for us as a society. I was actually just reading, it was front page of Reuters today, about a man in California who is literally going around just to any of Kamala Harris's like supporters, or like political supporters, and threatening like their lives, but just not in a way that can quite get him in trouble.
Yeah.
Like someone should blow your brains, stuff like that. So really, really bad stuff like that. So, but that's what that false information, that disinformation does. It causes us to be less moral as a society. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where I really like to come in, just to bring that information side of things.
Yeah, no, and I can appreciate that about you, because when I look at your lives, it's super factual. It's really
hey, brother. I'm gonna switch to my other device.
Yeah.
So that I can sit down and turn my camera on.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, so, and I know we have questions we want to get to, but I want to get hear from you guys just really quick. DJ Easy, like a quick recap as far as why you're so involved in the election cycle this period.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So I would say, as a black man, caring about politics just altogether is essential, because it shapes the structure that impacts my life, mm-hmm. my community, my future, as well as my wife and kids, loved ones, all of that, right?
Yep.
Politics, just at the simplest form, governs the laws, the opportunities, the freedoms that we experience. And I think by engaging with it, you assert, if you will, your agency in the world that often tries to diminish it, especially as a black American. Mm-hmm. In a society where structures were not built with you in mind, I think knowing that, caring about politics becomes an act of self-empowerment, a way to challenge injustice, and then means to ensure that your voice and the voices of those before you, with you, and after you will forever be heard. And I think in this election alone, I want the future, specifically for my kids, to know that not only was I voting for VP Harris because she was the best candidate between the two, but absolutely because she's a black woman.
Yep.
Because I do think that representation matters.
Absolutely.
I think it matters 100%. There's no way to ignore that. And trying to ignore it, it's a bit dishonest.
Yeah.
Lastly, I'll say this. Just as I called her a black woman that loudly, I need y'all to understand the difference between race, ethnicity, and nationality.
Oh, we're gonna get into that. Don't give them too much on that one yet. Hold on, we're gonna get into that.
I end with that.
Yeah. Okay. Perfect. Navi, you want to check your audio now?
Check your audio now and see if you. Yeah, am I good now?
He still got an echo.
Do you want me to drop and come back up?
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that.
Yeah, let's go ahead and do that, and we'll get into it. Okay, one moment. Let me.
All right, guys, so I'll go ahead and get into this while Navi comes back up, and so we can get into these questions. So the first question that we have still an echo, Navi.
Hey, Navi, you're gonna have to exit out of the app completely, and then come back. That should stop it.
Okay, well, let me exit out.
All right. So it's been there's been an effort on behalf of the Republican Party to this election cycle to target men of color, but even more specifically to target black men. And I don't know if everyone has necessarily paid attention to that, but it's something that I've noticed. And so I'll start with, we'll start with you, Mr. Jones. Can you give me the reasoning behind or your thoughts behind why there's been such a targeted effort to get black men over to the Republican side and get them behind Donald Trump?
I think that the Republican Party understands how influential and powerful black women have.
Uh-oh.
Do I?
There we go.
Sorry about that. I got a phone call. I apologize.
No worries.
Yeah, but I think that they figured out, how powerful,
Do I still have an echo? Or am I good now?
You're good, Nappy.
I'm on
You're
a-
perfect.
Navi,
You were
Oh,
Pauly.
my bad. I thought
to
you were.
another Santana exclusive.
It's on you. Why has there been such a concerted effort by the Republican Party to target black men?
Yeah. So I think that, in my personal opinion, the Democratic Party has been very good at letting down the black community. I think that for a long, long time, the Democratic Party has been promising a lot of things to the black community and not delivering, right? And so the Republican Party was looking for an opening, right? And I think that Donald Trump allowed for that opening, and I think that Joe Biden also allowed for that opening in kind of a way. When you had Donald Trump versus Joe Biden, you actually saw the black men got up to over 20% in polling, which was the first time that had ever happened, right? Now, black women, that was completely different. Black women were still mid to high 90s, right? Wasn't even close. But black men seemed to go over there. So what I think is the Republican Party is seeing that there was a slight opening for them to start to gain momentum within the black community, and they've never been able to do that before. So I think that's why it really became a target from them from a strategic standpoint, right? And that's when you really saw like Donald Trump and his campaign and other Republicans start to talk about things like HBCUs, right? Start to talk about, you like saying the First Step Act and things like that were actually, targeted towards the black community, which it wasn't, right? They were trying to open up this door, and unfortunately, if you're already not happy with the people that you've been voting for your whole life, and you start to hear these things, a lot of people may want to jump ship and try something else, right? If they think that that's going to be advantageous to them. And I think that to a certain point, even with 50 years of proven racism by Donald Trump, people also look at it from the other side and go, hey, frickin' I got decades of racism on the Democratic Party.
Yeah,
like it's shown the exact same thing. So what the hell is the difference? Let's look at something that's actually like, check this other rhetoric out. That's how I see it.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point. Mr. Jones, you want to take a swing at it again one more time?
Yeah, sorry about that.
No,
yeah,
you're
I
good.
apologize to the kids. But yeah, so what I was saying is that black women have been excelling in many aspects within the community, in terms of entrepreneurship, in terms of college graduate, in terms of post-college graduate, in terms of home ownership, in terms of head of household, right? And a lot of those things, black men, for some reason, see as an attack on them because, they believe that their job is to protect and provide, right? And so if these women don't necessarily need them for these things, right, then what valuable do you have to offer women who have, all of their own independent, capabilities and qualifications, where having a man is a bonus and not a necessity, right? And so I think that propagandists are great at targeting or identifying weaknesses within a community or a social structure and targeting specifically that. The red pill movement was started essentially by white men, but the rhetoric started to sound good and then black men became the face of it.
You know what? That's super interesting because that leads me into another question.
Passport bro stuff.
Yeah.
White men been doing that shit for decades.
Yeah, no. You know what? It's funny because Navi, I want to come to you on this one because Mr. Jones kind of set it up perfectly, right? And I think there's a reason why, you can talk about red pillars, you can talk about things that were quote unquote started by white men and adopted by black men, but something that it seems like that black men are drawn to when it comes to Trump is this whole strongman act, this authoritarian act, right? Something where it's a whole facade that has been put on, and it's something that they want to adopt and they want to be connected to it. So Navi, what do you say about that? Why is that something so attractive to certain black men?
Black men, we are the most isolated group of humans in the United States. We've been this way since we came to these shores, and we've been trying to bring ourselves out of this isolation through assimilation. But no one is going to assimilate black men into this society. We are behind enemy lines. It doesn't matter how much cooning you're doing. It doesn't matter how much tap dancing you're doing. It does not matter. You will not be brought out of isolation. And so with this new MAGA movement, it's this promise. First of all, they're banking on our ignorance, right? Because a lot of my brothers, we do not take education seriously. That's why we like to down black women when they talk about their degrees and things like that. We don't take education seriously. And Donald Trump did say he loves the uneducated.
He did.
So why do we feel, brothers, why do you think they feel comfortable pandering to black men? Because they don't pander to black women.
They do not.
Because they know that's a dead issue. They pander to black men because they know we don't take education seriously and we want to come out of isolation. We are seeing black women being brought up from the G League, and society is saying, welcome to the NBA. And we want a piece of that. That's why the red pill movement, that is why the passport bro and all of that is black men's cry to come out of this isolation. And I'm here to tell you, brothers, it's not going to happen. They're never going to choose us. It doesn't matter because we are a threat. It doesn't matter what it is. Even with your uneducated self, you are still a threat. So the whole idea of this MAGA movement, it is about promising black men that if you can be more loyal to your gender than to your community, you're going to be welcomed into and we're going to, kind of like spread the spoils of war to you. And it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So that's why we hear the aggressive rhetoric and why the rhetoric is focused on the women, right? It's focused on the women and not the men, right? Like the type of rhetoric that Donald Trump passes on, it is a direct attack on black men. The whole idea of removing certain books about black history from education is a direct attack on the masculinity of black men, because that is the only part of history where black men, where we actually show improve. So you don't want to read about the civil rights era. You don't want to read about the Buffalo Soldiers. You don't want to read about what black men did to help free us. You don't want to read about Nat Turner. That means that's a direct attack on our masculinity, but we don't see that because we're so focused on coming out of this isolation, not understanding that it doesn't matter how a person talks to you, they still view you as a threat. So the whole red pill rhetoric, passport broing and attacking black women and trying to expose the imperfections of black women, meanwhile ignoring our own imperfections, is kind of like the whole pandering for that coveted white male gaze.
Absolutely.
Because that's what we want.
Absolutely. And
white male
what?
gaze.
You know what? I want to kind of drill down on something, because Navi, you just said a word. You said a word, but you really dropped something on me. And even more so, the way that you say, the rhetoric is geared towards black women, right? And how black women are starting to shoulder the burden even more. They're being, quote unquote, called up from the G League into the NBA. DJ Easy, I got to put this out to you, and I want to know what you think. With the way that black men are actually supporting Donald Trump or supporting this actual Republican movement, do you think that this is leaving black women withholding the bag, right, and being responsible as far as saving democracy by, supporting Donald Trump? Is this putting more on black women's shoulders, and how do you think that's going to actually affect things in the future?
I think it does lend to that. I think the way it's going to affect the future.
Can you speak up just a little bit more? The volume's kind of low.
Oh, okay. What about now?
That's a little better. Yeah.
Okay,
but I'm sorry.
cool.
Go ahead.
I do think it's going to fall on the shoulders of black American women, of course. And I think the way it's going to affect the future is we're going to continue, unfortunately, this trend of brothers who are, if the sisters aren't, if their arms aren't long enough to wrap around as much of the black community as possible, is going to continue our young brothers down this path of not just misinformation, but poor education as well. And the reason why I say that is presently, and I shared this with you not long ago, and I made sure I said everywhere I go because I wanted to stick. There's only 12% of us reading on an 8th grade level. There's only 6% of us reading on a 12th grade level. That's only 1% of us reading on an advanced level. And when the brother Navi said, when Trump embraced, quote unquote, the poorly educated, he know who he's talking to.
Yeah.
I think when we have so many of us who romanticize a day of old where we see our granddads and their relationships, our uncles, sometimes even our pops, that when it was our time, we felt like we can just step in those shoes, right? While the whole time, those girls of that same age, those granddads, those uncles, those dads, those grandmas, those aunts, those moms were telling their girls, baby, go get your education. Make sure you ain't got to depend on no man.
Yeah.
And the reason why they were saying that is because they knew the time that they were living in. And it's because of that we've seen women year after year, not even decade after decade, continue to improve, specifically in the black community, the way that they've been doing. As for us, a lot of us know we're being left behind.
Yep.
We don't know the specifics. We don't know where it's coming from. We don't know what we're missing. But we do know it. And for whatever reason, there are a significant amount of us who've been caught up in a lot of red pill ideology, a lot of that passport bro stuff, whatever, that wasn't for us. And we're finding, a lot of us, our voices in that. We're finding some direction in that we feel we never had before. So if it continues down this path, yes, a lot of the common sense stuff, not even advanced, a lot of the common sense stuff are going to be left on our women.
Yeah.
And that's extremely unfortunate.
Yeah, you know what? And I think that I love how you mentioned, you talked about the women, right? But something that you said that really just stuck out to me was talking about how if the black women, if their arms aren't long enough to stretch around the youth, then it's going to be, something that's left behind. And so I'm going to throw this to Mr. Jones, because I think Navi, I'm not sure how old you are, but I think Mr. Jones might be the elder statesman on this panel, right? But my question, knowing that you have kids and knowing what your kids mean to you, right? What does it do if this generation, or these elder black men that we have now, turn to such an exception of Donald Trump, of the MAGA movement, of such hatred and bigotry? What does that do for the next generation, for your kids, for my kids? What type of example does that set, and what are some of the possible long-term repercussions for black men actually giving in at this time to this type of movement?
Well, I'm glad you asked that, because this is something that I was talking about the other day when I was doing the Forbes interview, right? When we look at them just getting rid of diversity, equity, and inclusion, or trying to get rid of the Department of Education, what you're going to see and what they're attempting to do is further, that wealth gap, to further, the distance between marginalized communities, specifically ones that are people of color. And, when they say make America great again, we have to be honest. At the end of the day, it literally means make this a white nation again. Not this nation of all of these different brown people from all over the world. They mean make this a white nation again. So we're looking at, fewer protections in the workplace, fewer protections for students in education, right? We're going to see, we've already seen a massive decline in enrollment for Black and Asian students at some of the Ivy League schools because of them getting rid of affirmative action. But there's no problem with legacy students getting in there, even though they don't score as high and they're not very bright. But they're able to go to these, Ivy League schools because because their dad went there or their grandfather went there. You're going to see corporations starting to harness, more power. Because when there's no diversity, it's like men, women, so on and so forth, and we have a person like Donald Trump who likes consolidated power, you're going to see all of these corporations that he's promising tax breaks again continue to erode the middle class. I mean, if his tariffs would have continued for another 4 years just with China, for another 4 years, and if he was elected in 2020, wouldn't have been a middle class anymore.
Yeah.
And now he's talking about more tariffs on China and then every other person that we have trade deals with. But yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, it would have 20 to 40 years worth of impact. I mean, it would be taking us back decades, literally decades.
No, I think that's something that we can't overlook, right? And that's something that's very realistic. And Polly, I would like to, hear, because Polly, if you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I'm 37.
Really? Same age as me, Polly. I could have sworn you were in your 20s. It's got to be
I'm
like
30, yeah. I'll be 38 in December, actually.
Holy crap! So you're actually older than me. But Polly, I want to hear your thoughts on that. Like, what does this possibly do to the next generation of Black men, or even like Black men, Black women, if this actually becomes a thing and they accept this MAGA movement? Howdy, partner. Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, I really think that there's like two different sides of it that you have to look at, right? And I think Mr. Jones kind of touched on both of them. There's the sociological side, right? Mm-hmm. Where it's okay, cool, we're keeping men in power, okay? We're keeping Black people out of the office, right? We need to continue this same stance. Anytime you try to come up, we're not going to let you. We're going to make sure that we keep pressing you down. So, not to mention Donald Trump's, obvious racial tendencies and stuff like that, right? But then, like you said, like he also touched on the educational side of things, right? When we was talking about, if the tariffs, if there was 4 more years complete of tariffs, or if there's tariffs that are implemented for the next 4 years, there will be no more middle class. Do you think the majority of people in general, right? But do you think the majority of Black men that are voting for Donald Trump, like, actually understand what a tariff is?
No.
And like how it's like, it's literally just an extra sales tax, right? That affects the lower and middle classes, right? Like, and so when you talk about, like you said, ending affirmative action, getting rid of the Department of Education, right? You're saying, okay, let's keep everybody dumber, right? Let's keep everyone dumber, because as long as we keep them dumber, then they won't know what's good for them or bad for them, and they'll just freaking continue on. And let's show them that if they try to put try to come up and put someone like, Kamala Harris in the presidency, that we're going to do everything in our power to make sure that she's held down, right? So I think it has like a huge effect on the Black community, just all the way across the board, right? We already saw how things changed just in the 2016 election, right? Just by the end of Donald Trump's last term, we saw the negative side effects of it, right? And we're still dealing with them, right? Like, we're still dealing with the end of DEI, the end of, affirmative action. We're still dealing with all this stuff. that was when he didn't know what he was doing.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's when he didn't
Now
know.
he's had years to prepare, you know what I'm saying, the second strike. Like now he sees what works and what doesn't, what he can get away with and what he can't.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
no.
And he said
he's had the Heritage Foundation prepare for him.
that's what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
That's
I'm sorry.
exactly
Go
what
ahead.
no, you're
Go
fine.
right
No, you're
to
fine, man. Like that's exactly what I was saying. Not only has he had 4 years to prepare, but all the people in his administration had 4 years to prepare and write Project 2025 and literally like codify like the systematic destruction of minority communities, of education, of like of all of it. It's all in there. It's all written down. That's why at this point he's scrambling to try to distance himself from it, because he understands that anybody that actually will take the time to read it, that has enough education to be able to understand it, or enough not even education, just knowledge in general to be able to understand it, is going to realize what he's doing. And by the time the election's over and people realize it, it's just going to be too late.
It's going to be
honestly.
too late. It's going to be too late. But you know what, Polly? So you said something, and I really want to know what Navi thinks about this, because you talked about, the difference as far as, them being willing to accept Donald Trump or really rejecting Kamala Harris. And Navi, I want to kind of get into that specifically, right? And more so understand your thoughts, or at least why you believe that more black men are actually willing to reject Kamala Harris as a strong black woman, or what's the principle behind not really accepting a strong black woman as a leader, and rather saying I would rather take this orange man as a leader than this strong black woman.
She's a direct representation of the woman that they hate because she gave birth to a black man. Sorry to be the bearer of the bad news, but a lot of my brothers wish it were white. I'm just keeping it a bean. Because listen, I'm a son of revolutionary parents. My upbringing was similar to Mr. Jones' ex. My mother and my father snatched me up out of America. We went over to Liberia to build schools and dig wells. We were deep in politics and social issues and things like that. I was at the Million Man March. I had a personal relationship with the minister and Prince Asiel in Chicago and Dick Gregory. I would tell you that the idea of a strong black woman as a leader has been a problem for us for a very long time. This isn't a new phenomenon. Like even during the civil rights era, we suppressed our sisters and their voices. We created very toxic environments so that even sisters like Angela Davis, she had a voice, but she could have been a far more instrumental. But we just have a problem with seeing that because, for one, we found ourselves slaves to the idea that women are the weaker vessel. Although we are comfortable with allowing women to raise the future leaders of this nation. For me, if we're okay with women raising our children by themselves, we should be okay with a woman leading this nation.
I know that's right.
So the idea of a strong black woman represents their mother. And a lot of my brothers, we don't like our moms.
Ooh.
Because when it comes to a black woman trying to raise a black man in America by herself, because strong black masculinity is viewed as a threat. So a single black mother has two options. She's either going to have to emasculate her son in order for him to be safe out here, or she's going to have to coddle him.
Ooh.
Because he knows that strong masculinity, that machismo that black men have naturally. You take that out here in the real world, and other black men and white men are going to snuff it out.
Ooh.
We don't like to have this conversation. And so your mom is trying to protect you. So she's ruling over you. Because she knows if you take that that strong man, that strong black man demeanor out there into the real world in corporate America on these job sites in these schools, they are going to unalive you. They're going to single you out and make sure that either you are no longer among the land of the living or you are injected into that school to prison pipeline.
I know that's right.
So that strong, we can say that a strong black woman is disrespectful. No, a disrespectful woman is disrespectful. A strong black woman you only deem her disrespectful because she has the choice to tell you no. Our grandparents, our grandmothers, they didn't have the choice to say no, right? It was either yes or death.
I know that.
But now this new generation is no. I can say no and they can stand on it. And VP Harris is a direct representation of a black woman doing it despite of a man instead of in spite of a man, right? Like she got there without a man behind her, pushing her and telling her and making moves. She did it on her own intellect, hard work. And so now that representation makes a lot of my brothers, not all of us, but a lot of us afraid of that image because we want to go back to our grandparents' time when our grandmothers couldn't say no.
Yeah.
So that's what the threat is.
No, I completely agree. And I think even more than that, I think that's why you see so many of those. That's why they're hyper fixated on the stories about, Kamala Harris or what she did or how she got to where she is. But DJ Easy, I want to hear your perspective on that. Do you feel the same as Navi? Do you have more of a thought around why black men would rather reject a strong black woman as a leader than actually embrace that?
I think it's because a lot of us view a woman leading specifically over a man as though that man is weak. And it's because we have a pretty archaic idea of leadership as well as the sort of gender norms that have been given to us by patriarchy that we've just taken up without even questioning for so long. So when you have that and you have the idea of a woman leading you in practically anything, it makes you feel weak if you haven't come to terms with what leadership is, what femininity is, what masculinity is, and what it means, et cetera, et cetera. If you haven't sat down with that and truly examined those things, you're going to continue to look at society the way that society has always been given to you. And here's the thing about that. When we talk about patriarchy, I need people to understand that a lot of us pick it up without even thinking about it because it's woven so meticulously into the fabric of what our day-to-day is in this country that you don't even notice it until you intentionally step outside of it and examine it. This has to be something that you intentionally do. And this is for everybody who are born and raised here. If you have never even looked up the word to get the definition, and once you get that definition, go down that long road of the history of it, you won't even understand why you see your boys different than you even see the lady that you lay down with. Like you see your boys as more human beings, as whole human beings, than even the lady that you share quarters with. And if you can't get to that, if you can't even see that lady in whom you claim to love, and sometimes you've had kids with, if you can't even see her as a human being, there's no way you can imagine living in a country that's being run by a woman. Lastly, I say this, there are other countries around this world that even developing countries, not quote unquote first world countries or what have you, that have had a woman leader before America. And America likes to stand on top of the world as the brightest, most freest, most strongest, smartest country around. And if we've been around this long, this big, this bright,
By every
this
sociological marker, we're behind the rest of the industrialized world, like literally.
America's the best, though.
every
Right.
single one.
At what?
When you've seen
putting
these
people in
other
prison.
countries,
Selling
you've
guns.
even seen when you think about Germany's history and the fact that they had a woman leader before America. You think about probably one of my favorite leaders in terms of, and I can't believe I'm even saying that as a sentence, in terms of the way she handled COVID, Jacinda Ardern. The way she handled it was better than most countries because she gave room for science. She gave room for understanding the threat that her country was facing. There are countries in Africa who have had women as leaders before America has.
Yeah.
And when you take into account all of that and knowing still that Black Americans are still a minority in this country, as Black American men, it's harder for us to imagine not just a woman, but a Black woman being the leader because it's hard for most of America to imagine that as well.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. I think, you take a whole step back and you see how women have been leaders in their own rights in so many different ways, but yet and still, kind of to what Mr. Jones said earlier, we look at them as the weaker vessel. We look at them as, the submissive ones or whatever. But at the end of the day, in my opinion, right, the only way that we're going to move forward as a stronger country, it has to be more leadership from women and more leadership from Black women. So I definitely appreciate that. So I want to get to this last question, and then I'm going to open it up to questions for the comments. And actually, guys, if you don't have a problem with this, this is what I might do, since there were so many people requesting up. And I know you guys don't normally talk to friendlies, right? You guys are normally battling. So maybe we'll get, we'll let a couple of people request. We get one person, one woman, one man, and then we answer some questions from the comments. Or if you guys are okay with that.
I got no issue there.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good with it.
I'm cool with that.
I just want to say that I am, in fact, the eldest.
Are
on
you,
this panel.
Nevi? How old are you?
I am 50 years old.
Oh, Jones, he's got you.
I'm
He's
50.
got you. Okay.
I just turned 50 on the 27th.
Okay, so we can officially call you Unc.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So last question, just to kind of wrap up the actual panel discussion portion, and I think it's really important. We started off talking about why it's important, why it was important for you guys to be involved in this election cycle and make your voice heard. For anyone that's listening right now that might be considering, Donald Trump, or even more so saying, I don't know if I should vote for Kamala Harris. Starting with Navi. What reasons, or can you give maybe like a 2-minute spiel about why you think they should be voting for Kamala Harris as the next president of the United States?
First and foremost, she's a Black woman, right? Like America is all about optics, right? What's important in America's optics. Donald Trump proves that optics is more important. Number two, her policies. If you read her policies, we really don't deserve them, to be honest with you. If you read her policies, America really don't deserve VP Harris. Two, if we look at Agenda 47, right? Because I know Donald Trump says that he has nothing to do with Article, Project 2025. But we look at Agenda 47, there is nothing in there for brothers. There's nothing in there for the brothers. There's nothing besides, internment camps, mass deportations, because if you actually believe that they're just talking about Hispanic people, you haven't been paying attention to the images and what they've been going after the Haitians. And you cannot tell the difference between a Haitian American and an Afro American. And America has never actually taken the time to try to separate us. So please understand, when they start talking about mass deportations, they talking about our Black asses too. No matter if you're light skinned or dark skinned, whether you pass the paper bag test or not. So for me, it's about policies, right? If I don't want to do optics, right? Although for me, her being a Black woman is numero uno. I don't care what anybody else feels about it. But policies. If I look at Agenda 47, which is Donald Trump's policies, and I look at VP Harris's policies, her policies are better. Her policies will actually help a lot of people within the Black community if she's able to get them enacted out of poverty and into the middle class. The child tax credit, health care, the $25,000 down payment assistance. It's not a tax break. It is an actual $25K payment for someone to they can, because we know to get into the middle class, most of the time it's about ownership of property. So for me, those policies, the policies about reforming the police, the policies about comprehensive pew laws, we need that because our children are being unalive in places they're supposed to be more often than places they're not. So those are the policies against rhetoric, right? So Agenda 47 has nothing in there. There is no platinum plan in there, brothers.
No, and even the platinum plan was crap.
Yeah, there is no platinum plan in Agenda 47, right? He's outlawing homelessness. A lot of Black men find yourself homelessness. You're going to go to jail if you're homeless now, right? The whole idea of getting rid of the Department of Education and the voucher program. The voucher program only helps the 1%, who I like to call the overseers. They do not help the disenfranchised or even the middle class. There is nothing in there as for Black men that will make you think in his policies that he has us in mind.
Yep.
So VP Harris's policy has you in mind, has you in mind. But if you don't care to look at the policies, then I'm talking to a brick wall. But policies over rhetoric for me, policies over bullshit. So for me, that is what I policy over, because a politician can tell you whatever he wants, but what did they put down on paper that you can hold them accountable for if they don't get it done?
Absolutely.
And we are matching policies on policies. Donald Trump's policies is all about the 1%. It has nothing to do with the middle class, has nothing to do with impoverished people. It has everything to do with enriching the rich. That's why the tariffs is such a horrible thing, because those tariffs will enrich the rich. Because I'm gonna land my plane here.
Go ahead, let's land it.
The tariffs will actually add more cost to the products that you buy, as well as taxes. And corporations are going to add a little extra on top of it so they can turn the profit on those tariffs. So, brothers, we already having a hard time affording day-to-day life. Imagine you now having to pay $5 for a bar of soap, then $1.50. You know what I'm saying? You think child support is kicking your ass now? Wait till they add a little extra on it, because the cost of living then went up because of these tariffs. Brothers, vote for your survival, VP Harris.
That's right. That's right. DJ Easy, why should we be voting for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump?
Well, I want to echo some of the sentiments of the brother Navi there. And I would say, like he said at the beginning, I ain't going to shy away from saying I'm voting for a Black woman, and I'm proud to do it. Mm-hmm. I'm not going to shy away from that. I know people want to. I know the reasons why they want to. It doesn't make any sense, but I know the reasons. Aside from that, yes, it is a policies. When I think about the LIFT Act, that was created to help out middle-class families, something that she briefly brushed over in the debate. And what I would say really quickly about that is the problem with Democrats up until this point is they are not great at their messaging. There's so much they have done and do that they don't know how to, they either don't say it or don't know how to say it in plain enough terms. Because as harsh as it sounds, a lot of Americans are kind of dumb. Mm. I want to put that in a kinder way, but I can't. So when you get somebody like Trump speaking the way that he does, a career crooked businessman has convinced people that he's a man of the people because of the way he talk, really. And people feel like they can understand him. They feel like he's not talking down on them, even though he do.
Yeah.
Even, who's the guy? The Black Republican from South Carolina. I
Tim Scott.
Keep forgetting his name.
Uncle Tim Scott.
Tim Scott.
Yeah.
So
Is that who y'all talking about?
Uncle
who's the
Tim.
dude that's like that?
Mark
who's the
Robinson.
lieutenant governor
You're thinking
dude?
about Mark Robinson in
Mark
North
Robinson,
Carolina.
yeah.
We
Okay.
haven't even said Mark
Yo,
Robinson name yet.
the stuff I just heard about
Super
Mark
cool, bro.
Robinson.
Super
Wow.
cool.
Listen, I told you about him like a week or so ago.
So, so with Tim Scott, I remember when Nikki Haley endorsed Trump. He practically shamed the hell out of that man on that stage, saying that you are from the state that she represents, and she endorsed me. You must really hate her. And he come waddling up behind him. So I just love you.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
like, yeah, that's why he's a good politician. It's like, yo, that was shameful. So, okay, aside from the lift act with VP Harris, the Maternal Care Act is one that I care a lot about as well.
Oh, yeah.
Because we know how many black women aren't making it out of the hospital that they're delivering their babies in. And when people say that VP Harris hasn't done anything for black people, she don't do anything for black people, when I tell you about the Maternal Care Act, there's only two responses. Either you know it because you care, or you don't know it at all because you don't care.
Exactly.
So don't give me this stuff about her not caring about black people. The things that she did as an attorney general to make sure to try to lower the recidivism rate. And so there are a bunch of things that she's done to show that not just for all of Americans, but things that would affect black Americans as well.
Yep.
When you're talking about, when you believe, and I'm a condense it here. When you believe that you have more money than Trump, you're not crediting Trump for that.
You are not.
You're crediting President Obama. That is how
Plain
the
and simple.
economy works, ladies and gentlemen.
Plain and simple.
When President Obama left, when he left office, a bunch of things was happening. The unemployment rate was on a steady decline, and specifically in his second term, because his first term he had to clean up everything that Bush did. It happens for every president. The only time it doesn't happen on a large enough scale, the way that it happened negatively with Bush and positively with Obama, is if you're a loser and you only run one term successfully.
Yep.
So he didn't have enough time to truly fuck up everything. This is the person who cut 100+ EPA regulations. And while on the front end, it seems like it's making work easier. It seems like it's helping people earn more money. On the back end, the longer this stuff go on, the more unhealthy Americans are going to be working in these industries where these EPA regulations were cut.
I'm just gonna say this.
So, look,
I'm gonna say this, and I appreciate that. Now I'll just leave this note as why aren't people eating more boar's head? Right? To your point, why is it that, you know,
come on, man.
it's because the regulations were cut so bad. And so
I work in trucking, and some of the things that we have to do for our pre-trip and post-trip. When I first started, your pre-trip needed to be somewhere around 10 minutes, 15 minutes, as well as post-trip. And what that does is you're making sure you're checking the truck, you're checking the brakes, you're checking the fluids, all of these things before you even move that truck. After you cut EPA regulations that affect stuff with trucking, where we don't even have to do that. We don't have to check, then double check, and sometimes triple check because you've cut the regulations.
Yep.
These are the things that when we're talking about these candidates, when we're talking about politics, we need to know. One last note is this. If you are going to side with Republicans for a money standpoint, you are failing. And the reason why is this. Traditionally, historically, the GDP under Republicans has been somewhere around 2.3 to 2.4%. The GDP under Democrats historically has been anywhere from 4.1 to 4.3%. If you don't understand what the GDP is,
if you
The
don't
last three
understand,
recessions,
look it up.
the last three recessions have all come under Republican presidents, by the way.
Boom.
there we go.
Boom.
That's what I got. I'll stop right
Yeah.
there.
Thank you, DJ Easy. Polly, you must have knew I was coming to you next. Polly, why should we be voting for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump?
So this is actually, you know, I love getting into policy. I love doing the policy thing. You know, that's one of my favorites. Really cool thing. I don't really have to. Both Navi and Jay nailed like so many major policies. I think it was absolutely amazing. But I am going to take a slightly different view from them and this is absolutely no disrespect to either of y'all. I am not voting for her first because she's a black woman. Me personally. Okay?
Me either.
I am voting for her because she's the best candidate, regardless of race and regardless of her being a woman. Now, her being a black woman is a great bonus on top of that, and it's absolutely amazing, and I think it's going to be great for America for that to happen. But first of all, she has an understanding of the problems that are going on in the United States. I want to start there, right? Donald Trump does not have a clue about the problems that are going on in the United States. That's why his answers are so remedial and elementary, right? Build a wall. Easily relatable, everyone can understand it, does not in any way address the immigration issue in the United States. Drill, baby, drill. Exactly. Easy to talk about, easy to say, easy to roll off the tongue for people that aren't paying attention.
How are you going to address child care? How are you going to address child care? Oh, drill baby drill.
Drill baby drill. Drill baby drill. Like, even the debate, he talked about immigration, like that wall, like in every time but the immigration thing, because you got him off. Anyways, I digress. He doesn't have an understanding of anything that's going on. He has like 4 talking points. He repeats them over and over. When you hear Kamala Harris talk, she even has some policy, like some agenda items that I'm not a huge fan of. And I'll be straight up about it. There are some things that she's talking about, and I'm like, I don't see how that's working, right?
For healthcare, I'm with you on that, because I wanted a single payer. She opened it up to private. Well, she changed it a bit to private, but I wanted to see actual universal single payer. But
I would love to see that also. I think that, how she's kind of adopted the no tax on tips. I don't really understand how that's going to be completely beneficial to U.S. as a whole. But that's just me. But that doesn't matter. But that's because we should be sitting here talking about the politicians even that we like, right? Even when we like politicians, we should be breaking down the agendas and policies that we like and dislike from them, because we should be good, informed voters. And that's what I'll take from what Jay was trying to say, that most of America isn't intelligent. I'm going to put it a little different way. Most of America isn't informed. Okay? Whether that's intentionally or unintentionally, most of America isn't informed. They don't know why things that Donald Trump says don't make any sense. They don't understand why the things that Kamala Harris say actually address the problems that are going on with America. Whether you like the way she's addressing them or not, they address them. Okay, straight off the bat, all of the economic policies that Navi talked about, going to like the Maternal Care Act and that Jay talked about, and her work as a district's attorney, all of that stuff is amazing, but you have to understand it. You have to know about it. You have to research it. You have to be an informed voter. And most people, unfortunately, like I know for a lot of people that follow myself and the gentleman in this room, have been following politics for a while. There is a large majority of Americans that started at that last debate.
Yep, absolutely.
A lot of them. So, while I think it is absolutely amazing that Kamala Harris is a strong black woman, and I think that is amazing for America and starts to help us catch up to the rest of the developed world.
Right.
She's more qualified than him and it's not even the same universe.
Not even close.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So both are awesome. Both are amazing. Get out there and make sure you're voting. Goodness freaking gracious. One more, last thing. Sorry, I don't want to go on too long-winded, but one of the biggest problems in the black community is that people aren't getting out and voting.
They don't vote.
How, like Mr. Jones said, like in his intro, right? Like, how are you going to complain about the system that you live within if you are not going to get out and vote, if you are not going to participate within that system? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So go vote, take your family members, take your friends, put everybody in the van, volunteer, whatever you have to do. Make sure they're registered, because Republicans are kicking people off of voter registries left and right. Get out there in November. Make sure they understand what they're talking about, and make sure they get to the voting booths. But yeah, I'll stop
Plain
there.
and simple. Perfect. Thank you.
Let's make sure we push for making voting. Let's push for making election day a holiday. By the way,
exactly. I think that would be beneficial. And last but not least, Mr. Jones. Mr. Jones, can you tell everyone why they should be voting for Kamala Harris over Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, I think that a lot of people have covered majority of what I would like to say. But here's the thing. In this country, there's a lot of people, regardless of their race, that are dealing with the same fundamental issues. And those same fundamental issues are the average family, the average household in America is $500 to $1,000 away from abject poverty. Meaning if they have one emergency, they're fucking out in the streets. What's Trump's solution, for fixing the people that are already unhoused? Oh, well, I'm going to put them in tent cities and force medical care on them that they don't want. And people are going along with it. The same people that said, don't force me to get the jab. Now, me being a super far leftist, I didn't think that it would be okay to enforce, a vaccine mandate, right? Because you don't force medical care on people that don't want it. Just like you don't force women to carry babies that they don't want. Because that's slavery. Right? And so, as a father, of 5 girls in total and then 3 boys, I want my children to grow up in a country that actually knows what freedoms and liberties look like. And that hasn't been the case ever. And I think that Kamala Harris is, a stepping stone in the right direction moving forward so that we can make sure that people have equitable access to resources, that they're not housing insecure, that there's not 1 in 5 children going to bed without food every night in the United States anymore, that kids are getting an equitable education and not being favored simply because they grew up in the right zip code and were arbitrarily born to the right parents. And that all children have access to medical care. They argue about abortion, complain about all the symptoms, never want to address the disease. They complain about crime, understand all the symptoms, never want to address the disease, right? Cry about racism still being an issue. Like, just stop talking about it, but never want to actually fix the disease, right? So let's start fixing the diseases. Let's fix poverty. Let's fix education. Let's fix housing insecurity. Let's fix, access to healthcare, especially mental health care, right? And then you can see a lot of these problems start to go away, and then y'all don't have nothing to bitch about anymore.
Yep. Wait. If you take away their ability to complain, then they won't be able to complain.
That's all the fuck they got.
That's all we want to be able to do.
Don't pass that border bill, goddammit. What am I gonna bitch about?
He can't complain about it if he doesn't have something.
What am I gonna bitch about? You pass that border bill.
Yeah, no.
But the last point that I want to make personally before we move on from here is, and you hear me say this, everybody's heard me say it at least once. Every black person in American history, Barack Obama, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Huey P. Newton, Langston Hughes, Lorraine Hansberry, Angela Davis. I mean, you name James Baldwin, Bayard Rustin. You name the black leader in the United States who said, hey, listen, we're not asking for equality necessarily, right? We just want equitable access, right? Because you can't promise equal outcomes. But anytime that any black leader has ever had a voice on a national stage, they label them a communist. Every single fucking time.
Every time.
Our FBI spent 87% of their budget targeting black leaders and labeling them communists between 1958 and 1972. 87% of their budget just targeting black people.
Yep.
And labeling them communists.
And, they're all communists. Anytime you
that was called COINTELPRO, for those of you who want to go look it up. It's called COINTELPRO.
They don't even know what a communist is. They
do not. No idea.
They don't know words.
Most of them can't spell communist. Okay, like what are you talking about?
Because they don't read.
Okay,
you gotta
guys.
read to know what these things are.
All right, so thank you guys for the awesome conversation. Thank you for being amazing. We're gonna run through this really quick because we only got a few minutes left, and I want to respect the schedule and make sure I give you guys or stick to the time that I originally gave you. Octavia, I'll start with you. Do you have one question that you would like to ask the panel? Or I'm sorry, let me do this. You can unmute Octavia. You have to come off mute. Octavia, going once, going twice. And she's gone. All right. Sydney, do you have one question for the panel?
Actually, not so much as a question, but I have a statement. First and foremost, they got to realize something. Trump had 4 years. The last two of those 4 years, he shit the bed by putting.
I think he got dropped.
What happened?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Wasn't me that time.
Okay, yeah. I apologize, Sydney. In the meantime, Erica, what question would you like to ask the panel?
All right. Hi, good afternoon, guys. Thank you so much for being here. And I didn't really necessarily have a question, more so it was a statement in response to what Navi had said earlier. It's more so like, as a mom of a Black boy, I have a son, striking that balance between allowing him to be free to express himself, along with letting him know that when he goes outside, people, okay. Okay. You got her? Okay.
Yeah.
But knowing that when he goes outside of the four walls that he calls home, that people will view him a certain way, unfortunately, it isn't easy, because we don't want to, let them, wallow in that toxic masculinity. I don't want him to be in that space. But also, I don't want him to be in a space where, he's not able to stand up for himself. So I guess my question for Navi is, how can I strike that balance?
It can be pretty difficult, because I am a boy. Excuse the dog. I'm a boy dad and a girl dad, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's difficult at the balance, because I raise my daughters to be fearless, and I raise my Black sons to be fearless, while at the same time I think awareness is key.
Mm-hmm.
My oldest son, when I'm just listening to the issues of women and what they talk about, because I do believe that if you can give your son a perspective as to how life is outside of his masculinity, outside of his gender, I do believe that awareness can actually allow him to have some form of emotional maturity, so that you do not have to emasculate him, but also he's able to wield his maturity to the point where he don't allow the world to trigger him so easily. Because I do believe that that's what puts us in danger as Black men, when we can be triggered so easily that because we are taught to express two emotions, rage and lust. If you express any emotions outside of those two, your manhood is questioned. I think as a boy mom, me as a boy dad, I've had to raise my sons to be able to harness all emotions on the spectrum, and so that they cannot be easily manipulated. So when he's at work and the supervisor says something out of pocket, he responds professionally and not responds with rage, because that's when the world is able to take advantage of him. When he responds with lust, that means that the world can take advantage of him. And because, that tends to be one of our quickest downfalls as men. They throw women and they throw a beautiful woman in the mix, and we fold.
Yep.
It's almost 100%. It's almost 100%. Like, you throw a woman in the mix and we fold. So
Absolutely.
that is important, to allow your son to be able to harness every emotion within that spectrum, so that he can be easily manipulated. So he is a man, he is masculine, he's able to not be a pushover and not be easily finessed, but at the same time, he knows how to pick and choose his battles.
Yeah.
Yes. So I would say I'm currently doing that. So I feel like I'm doing a great job. Thank you.
I'm sure you are. Thank you, Erica. Reggie, what question do you have for the panel?
Good evening, guys. Not so much a question. I just want to say thank you to all of you for taking on this challenge you guys have every day of, trying to debate, trying to educate, and I appreciate that. Everything that you guys have said tonight has just been wonderful. I said, man, I'm 54 years old. I'm in Pennsylvania, so I see everything that you guys are saying as something that needs to be implemented into our communities. And I start with my own family. For me, it starts in the home. If I see my little cousins getting out of line as young men, I check them. So when things like that go unchecked, you get young men that go out here unbalanced. They feel like nobody cares about them. I worked in a boys' home, and the first thing that they told me once they get to know me is, I appreciate you. All they want is structure. They want that guidance from men. So what you guys are doing is providing that, and I just want to say thank you for that. Keep following you, support you guys all the way. So Kamala for sure, 100%. Let's do it.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming up. I appreciate you. Bones, what do you have?
Oh, I'm up here?
Yeah, you are.
I was tapping the screen. I didn't even know I was up here.
Okay.
I was not trying to request because I heard the host say, request up if you have questions. And since I had none and I know how to follow directions, I wasn't trying to request.
Okay.
Which
Okay.
obviously, which is funny to me because this is black men to black men, black man to black man. If you noticed, one person came up and actually had a question. Two people came up to make a statement.
Absolutely. Okay.
Black man to black man. I will say that though. Black man to black man.
Yeah. All right, Bones. I appreciate you. All right, guys. Any chance since we only got one question, are we willing to take one more person real quick if they actually have a question, or do you guys got to jump? Good. Okay, guys, listen.
I'm cool with it. I don't mind.
All right, I'm gonna bring one more person in, and when I bring the person in, I need you to have a question, not necessarily to make a statement, but we need a question. And I'm just giving you fair warning. If you don't have a question, I'm gonna drop you. I've seen Polly bring people in and they say, "Are you a Trump supporter?" And they say, "No." Polly say, "Click." Don't even say words after that. Just click. I'm telling you, I'm putting my finger on the trigger.
All directions. I don't know what to tell you, man.
Please.
Yeah, I do that when people come up and I ask them, "Are you legally able to vote?" And as soon as they say no, I drop you because we're not having this conversation.
I've seen Polly and Mr. Jones do that. I've seen both of them do that.
No, I ain't doing it.
If you take too long to answer that question, I drop you. Like, are you over 18? Click, you're gone.
Yeah, like, are you able to vote, brother? Well, you see what had happened was, click.
Okay, all right, we're gonna see. We're bringing this person in, and let's have a question. Let's have a question. All right, Gina, how are you, Gina?
Notice him as Xander because Will was like Xander's the next.
Gina is AFK.
But he's also getting real buddy with Ali because every time Ali.
All right, Gina. All right. I don't know who Ali is.
I think what happens is some people. Yeah, some people forget that they request sometimes, and there's also something going on with TikTok where it's just adding people. It seems so. I don't know. It's weird.
All right, Nettie, do you have a question for the panel?
I do have a question.
Go right ahead.
I think it's just Net though.
Is it Net?
Yeah.
Oh,
it's Net.
That's that South Carolina education. Ooh.
That's okay. I do have a question. So. And as far as inflation and the price of living, the cost of living is like now, I know it's a lot lower than it was in previous years, but I know a lot to do with that was like the Trump tariff wars. And I do have a question regarding that. Why did the Biden administration decide to continue those tariffs? I've been arguing with family members, but I can't figure out a reason for why those tariffs have been continued.
Okay. Well, it looks like Mr. Jones has that answer. Mr. Jones, go ahead and take it for us. You turned your camera off instead of turning.
Yeah, no, I meant to hit the mic. Yeah. So Biden Yeah, Biden didn't actually continue the vast majority of those tariffs against China. He only kept a few. Most of the items he removed off of the tariff list and things of that nature. And he did that. He ended those executive orders almost as soon as he got in office.
But on top of that, he did add tariffs, but those tariffs were only for very specific things. And they had to do with electric vehicles and solar power for the most part, right? So China is way ahead of us in the development of electric vehicles and solar powered. And so he was trying to allow the American manufacturing to be able to catch up, right? So that we could actually have our own infrastructure when it comes to those sort of things. That along with like the Chips and Sciences Act, that we're bringing like more factories and stuff for chips and other things like that deal with those type of electronics back to the United States. So he did add a lot of those tariffs, but those are specific tariffs targeting a specific industry for a specific reason. And those weren't the same tariffs that completely disrupted like the steel industry or, and farming and all of those sort of things.
Perfect. Net, that was a great question.
Hey,
you.
guys,
That was a great question. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for explaining it.
Yeah, and the only other thing I was going to say is for people who like to bring up coal.
Oh, she has a.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
She's
That's why I dropped it.
And how, and yeah, no, and how it is affecting the economy. Understand that a lot of those tariffs and the decisions that Trump made actually shut down a lot of those refineries.
So yeah, I just want to point out, right, that Trump's tariffs weren't strategic in nature. He just said, I'm going to put tariffs on things probably that his buddies, like had a lot of money in, right? Yeah. I'm just going to put tariffs on these things, steel, aluminum, so on and so forth, but they weren't strategic in nature. What Biden did is he put tariffs on specific sectors and then invested in infrastructure so that we could create jobs and build those sectors here in the United States and wouldn't have to rely on them. When Trump did the tariffs, there was no investment on the other side. It was just like, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, you get a tariff, with no actual plan. He had concepts of a plan, but he didn't have an actual plan.
Maybe ideas for a concept of a plan?
Ideas for a concept of a plan.
The possibility of an idea of a concept of a plan.
But I mean, the next time somebody want to hit y'all with what's going on with the gas prices and what's going on with gas and everything, please remind them that presently we are drilling far more than what we ever have in this country's history. Mm-hmm. The country's history.
Does anybody know what the 10-year average for a gallon of gasoline is? Does anybody know?
I was just about to say, not just 10 years ago, the history.
Yeah, so the 10-year average on gas price is like $2.83. Y'all is acting like, gas is $19. The 10-year average is $2.83. So at some point we were paying, 30-40% more, which would have been a natural inflation over the course of 10 years anyway.
100%.
And you talked about the tariffs getting rid of the refineries. Let's not also forget that he sold off our two largest refineries in the United States to Saudi Arabia, which is the reason that we can't refine even all the oil that we're using right now. So drill, baby, drill doesn't work. We already have more oil than we can use, but it's the first time we've been a net exporter in 70, 80 years? I think something like that.
Yeah. No. So
there's a lot of stuff that play into this, and that's why we say when we're talking about these candidates, when we're talking about politics, period. It's unfortunate that there's a lot of minutia in it. It's unfortunate that there's a lot of jargon in it. Sometimes you have to make things as simple as possible for people to understand it. And when you consider how much people have going on in their day to day, whether they work one job, two jobs, their parents, they have a demanding social life, I don't know, all of these things, a lot of people feel like they don't even have time to read some of these things. Mm-hmm. So when they're on social media and something comes by their screen, something that they're not fact checking, they will share it from a site that just opened yesterday as if it's the truth. So we have to find a way, unfortunately, to simplify these things so that people understand the actual facts and not just the things that Trump is bloviating about.
Yeah. So you said
I just want y'all to go. Hold on. I just want everybody to go look this up. I'm going to show you guys on the camera too. I'm just showing here I was showing it to the other camera as well. Go read this article and then you'll figure out why our oil prices went up. Go read that, and then you'll know why our oil prices show up. I don't know if I can show it so that
there we go.
Sorry.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, put me back on the big screen now.
Okay, let's try it again.
Special report, Trump.
See, I don't think that.
Back it up just a little bit.
Something.
Back it up a little bit more. A little bit more. And now flip it and reverse it, because I can't read backwards.
I don't know that it won't let me. I can't reverse the screen. I can't mirror it.
Saudi.
Yeah, I can't mirror it. But it says special report: Trump told Saudi cut oil supply or lose U.S. military support. That was on April 30th of 2020. The reason he did that is because that was like right at the height of COVID, and people were afraid to go outside, so people weren't buying gas at all. And the fucking the gas prices, oil prices on the stock market dropped into the negative. I mean, literally into the negative. They had never seen anything like it before. So he went back. He went over to Saudi and said, told Saudi, Russia, all of them, like, hey, listen, if y'all don't cut oil production by 10%, he said, we might not be, some of these oil companies might not be able to recover from this. Yeehaw. And they agreed to do it for 2 years, though. They signed a 2-year deal for COVID that Trump said was only going to last for 2 weeks.
Right.
They signed a 2-year deal. And so OPEC made record all the oil companies made record profits when the countries opened back up. Record profits. Because they were charging an arm and a leg for gas because the global supply had been limited. Right? Yeehaw. And then OPEC said, you know what? This is actually working to our benefit.
We like money.
We don't have to put out as much oil. We don't have to spend as much money. And we're making record profits. So of course they kept it going. They said, shit, keep the party going. And what incentive do they have to lower gas prices at this point? Because y'all fools have been buying the gas.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah. No.
Two more things. Two more quick things. I want to make this quick so I can. I want to make this quick so I can get back to the host, of course. A lot of people like to say, "Oh, well, you can't blame COVID on Trump." I get what you're saying in theory. Let us not forget that Trump got on the interview and admitted widely that, yeah, I knew how serious COVID was, but I played it down because I didn't want to cause hysteria. While other countries was like, hey, this shit is serious, get in the house and stay in the house. And here go a few bills for you to be all right while we figure this out.
Yep.
But also, if you're talking about the price of groceries and things and how high that is, those tariffs that we were talking about, it also affect American farmers. It affect them greatly, which is why just recently here in Alabama, a bunch of farmers just got checks sent out to them, and pretty big checks, to kind of make up for some of the shit that was done wrong to them through those tariffs. Those same farmers also got sizable checks under Barack Obama, specifically black farmers. If you're going to talk about these things, look up why these things are the way that they are.
Yeah, I think 220,000 farmers were put out of business based off those tariffs. Or
so
I think just
895 farmers alone just in the first year of the tariffs. What was it, 8-year high? And so if you look at it over the course of, like the next 3 years, we were losing nearly 1,000 legacy farms, meaning farms that had been in these people's families for generations. We were losing them by the boatload. It was fucking insane. And it didn't stop.
If we're being honest, the checks that those farmers just received, they need more.
Yep.
They need more. I don't care how big it was, they need more, because a lot of that stuff is not going to last long term. That was just to say, hey, look, we fucked up. Here go a little bit of money, which I'm doing on groceries, though.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the crazy thing, though. Here's the crazy thing. And I didn't even want to say this, man, but I'm going to say it now. Fuck it, because we about to get out of here. Black men got a fucking stimulus check and dropped their draws, bro. It's like, for real. Did you get the stimmy?
They spread them cheeks so wide. They spread them cheeks so wide for They could not wait to spread them cheeks.
No, they act like it was. They act like it was 9/11. Never forget. Never forget.
Exactly.
They were like, oh boy. So wait, y'all remember the movie Head of State with Chris Rock running for president? It was like, oh boy, who was it? Tracy Morgan was dancing with the meat. Yeah.
You know, they remind me
New
of
York
Ashy
City.
Larry.
Got
They
one
Ashy Larry when he had the truck full of cigarettes and they was like, I'm rich.
Oh, that's I lost this baby cash.
Hey, listen, is this where we go for the 5 o'clock free crack giveaway?
Exactly.
No, we're not. Listen,
But
they
about to spend all this money for
one
y'all change your
fucking-
minds.
Right, one
Right.
fucking stimulus check
Wait.
and drop
Oh
dead
wait.
draws, bro.
I can't believe I forgot this. If y'all are also complaining about your paychecks right now, if you're complaining about the taxes that you're having to pay, if you're complaining about money not stretching the way it needs to, Trump tax code expires next year.
Exactly.
You know what's the most insane talking point of black men when they talk about when they talk about Donald Trump is the border. Every time I hear a Tunisian talk about the border, I be wanting to throw my fucking tablet because there is nothing about the border that is infringing on your black ass. Nothing whatsoever. When you start, the border, it's so dangerous at the border. I live in Texas. Ain't nothing moving at the border.
Hey, yo, and most of these bros have never left where they grew up. Like,
And it's
never
all-
left their
and it's
town,
like
city at
Minnesota or like
Wait,
Illinois. It's never
like
anywhere
Iowa.
near the border.
Wait,
In Iowa.
Like,
that Navi.
you in the
Navi,
Dakotas talking
I'll
about
give
the
you a
border.
piece. I'll give you a piece of my favorite history. Since now they're saying that immigrants are taking black jobs.
If
Ladies
I
and
start
gentlemen,
seeing a bunch of like 5'6" Mexican men in the NBA, bro, I'm gonna lose my mind.
So wait, look. I want y'all to look this up if you never heard it. I know the brother Navi heard it because he was once a citizen of Liberia. In the 1800s, the American Colonization Society sent as many of us as possible to Africa. They didn't know where. They just sent us to Africa, and it became Liberia. The reason why they did that is because more Americans were afraid that the more of us become free, we will take, quote, American jobs. This is a long scare tactic that goes all the way back to the 1800s. It never
And then
meant
we took
anything.
our asses, we took our black asses in Liberia and acted like oppressors to the Liberian people, wondering why.
Yo, but here's the thing that I was saying. Here's the thing I was saying. We gotta keep it a buck. We gotta keep it a buck. Black men can completely and totally understand, realize, rationalize white supremacy when it affects them personally, but cannot see when they're operating in those very same spaces and harming people that are more marginalized than them. But not only that, they're not interested in black liberation because they're not interested in the liberation of black women. They're not interested in the liberation of black gay people. They're not interested in the liberation of black trans individuals or people that are otherly able or disabled black people. They're not interested in the liberation of black children because they think black children are property, right? They're interested in oppressing differently, just like replacing the oppressor with themselves.
And
Like
my fellow brothers, capitalism ain't gonna save you.
No.
Big fact.
It's
Yeah,
not.
slaves.
I don't care how many more black millionaires and billionaires we get. Capitalism is not the one that's gonna save us. Trust me.
Slaves don't dream of freedom. They dream of being
not gonna save us.
slaves. Don't dream of freedom. They dream of being masters, and that's what we do. Brothers want to be masters. That's the problem.
This lottery ticket that I got today, this is the one.
It's gonna hit today.
It's gonna hit. My number's gonna hit today. And when that number hits, I'm going straight to Mar-a-Lago and get me a golf membership. That's what these motherfuckers think. That's what they think.
Would you say be right there with Daddy Trump?
You make sure you watch out for dudes in the bushes though while you're there, man. Might be some dudes hanging out in the bushes. You better watch it.
Yo.
Okay.
Only to be denied. Only to be turned away.
Okay.
And then act like they don't understand why.
All right. I want to say this sincerely. Thank you. Thank you to each and every one of you, not just for being here today, giving up your time, because I know you guys go live, you do your own thing, you have your own lives, but literally I dropped this message in everybody's inbox randomly. Jones, I called you, and like everybody was just like immediately, yep, I'm in. Jones was like, yeah, what are you calling about? You know, I thought we want to talk about something else, of course. Right, but the fact that you guys were so willing, so open, so flexible to actually do this, to spend some time here, to actually bring a lot of knowledge, a lot of perspective, a lot of humor, a lot of things that people needed to hear, right? A lot of stuff that people didn't want to necessarily hear, but they needed to hear. And the fact that you guys were actually willing to do this means a lot to me, means a lot to everybody that's listening, means a lot to everybody that's been in and out. And so I know you guys do your own thing. This is different than what you guys normally do because, again, there's no opposition or whatever. But I just had to say thank you for actually being here and spending the time doing this because you didn't have to, but you did. So thank you.
Can I say one more thing? All of you guys that are on here, I'm hosting a gala. Or a gala, I don't know how the fuck you pronounce it, in February of this coming year in Florida, in Orlando, Florida. And I'd love all of y'all to come.
Hey,
I would love all of y'all to come.
You know I'll be there.
Yeah,
what are the dates?
So we're going to be doing a fundraiser. We're going to be doing a fundraiser to February 1st, Saturday, February 1st.
Okay, so I'll definitely come. I do have a book signing in Tulsa, Oklahoma in February, but it won't be in that week of February 1st. So
yeah, so
I'm a 6-hour drive,
sure.
man. So I can be there in a heartbeat because I'm already in Florida. So
you're near like Tampa, 1st. Right, Polly?
No, I'm pretty much in Alabama. Is where I'm at. I'm like 45 minutes from the Alabama border. I'm way up there in North Florida. But yeah. You let me know, man. I'll be there.
Yeah, Mr. John. Yeah, please.
Maxwell Frost should be there. A few other politicians. Jolly Good Ginger will be there. It's gonna be something. But we're gonna be raising funds to build a self-sustained community for unhoused people and people escaping domestic violence situations here in Central Florida. We've already identified the land. Hopefully we can put an offer in on it soon, and then it's all uphill from there.
Amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm down. So, all right, guys. So, chat, people that's watching, if you guys, I'm gonna give you like 2 seconds. 2 seconds. If you're not following any of these guys for any reason, which would be insane, please give them a follow. Check them out. Watch them as they go live, as they do their thing. Please support them in and outside of TikTok, in and outside of social media, because they're all doing something individually. They all have their own things going. Please give them a follow. If you want to send any last gifts to them before we go, any thank yous. Matter of fact, in the comments, can we just get like 1 million W's for this panel? Because I tell you what, these are 4 of the coolest black men and DJ Easy's been having jazz play like behind his the whole time.
I heard that the whole time. I was laughing.
At first, I was like,
"Wait!" Came on. I heard it from the get-go.
I was like, "Is that a saxophone?"
I was waiting for Jay to come out. You listening to the smooth sounds? I was waiting.
It's funny now if you mention that because Fridays and Saturday nights I do Quiet Storm on here. So
that makes sense.
Actually do that.
Can we get some thanks for Santana for putting this on, by the way? I actually think this is absolutely amazing. Can we get some big W's in there for Santana for putting this on?
Absolutely.
All right, so black man, jot this down really quickly, okay? Hit the lottery.
All right, hold on.
Buy a Cadillac. Find you a white woman.
Ooh. What Kanye say? Kanye, as soon as he get on, he leave your ass for a white girl. Exactly. In a way, guys.
Y'all know I don't mean none of that.
And a white girl leave you for a white dude and take half your money.
And take half the money.
And leave you paying $200K a month in child support. So
and spousal support. Don't leave about the spousal support.
All right, guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, everybody. Thank you. Hey,
thank you, Twitch.
Chat. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for being here. Thank you, guys. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your support. Thank you for your appreciation. Thank you for listening. Man, that was better than I could have ever hoped for. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I actually have an interesting thought. I'll just throw this out here right now. If the men can do it, why can't the women? stay tuned, because I would like to actually hear from my sisters. I think that's next. Anyway, I love you guys. I love you so much. Have a wonderful, amazing night. I might be back on later. I hope to see everyone when I do. And as always, peace.